Why settle for a regular mug when you can make a statement? The Heavy Mug is for fitness enthusiasts who don't take life too seriously while still pushing the limits. Let it serve as a daily reminder of your commitment to physical excellence. The first batch of their durable Heavy Mugs includes special engraving, allowing owners to impart wisdom on the importance of physical health alongside intellectual growth. Designed to last generations, to pass a message to the future. Its adjustable weights and barbell grip are sure to turn heads and spark conversations, whether you're at home, at the office, or working out. Equipped with additional barrels, it transforms into a robust, wrist-supportive kettlebell. The limited edition pre-sale launch allows you to secure the Heavy Mug at an introductory price. The Rocks Company designs innovative health and fitness products, focusing on quality and durability to support and inspire your wellness journey. Visit heavymug.fit. That's heavymug.fit to get early access and embrace the lighter side of fitness. Again, head on over to heavymug.fit.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is the one that everybody wants, me. Is going to WrestleMania. Claymore. Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. It is Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. And before we get started, I feel like I haven't done this in a while. I want to thank the latest patrons who have joined us, those free members and those paid members that have joined us over the last several days. So I'd like to thank first Corey Tharp. I'd like to thank Michaela P. for becoming an NXT Plus level member over the last couple of days. Samuel Vasquez and Kaiser Khan. I really want to thank everybody for joining us over at the WWE Podcast on Patreon, because you guys get everything ad-free, and a Discord server. That is a perk of becoming a member, is a separate Discord server that is available to you 24/7. And if you don't have the Discord link, just let me know. And I really appreciate it, because you guys get everything ad-free, and there's a 7-day free trial as well on Apple Podcasts. So check that out. And hopefully my voice will hold out tonight. I know I sound a little bit more normal, but it's deceiving because I'm still having to pause every couple minutes and take a break for having a coughing fit or whatever. But I'm heading in the right direction, so we're getting there. But here we are. It is Elimination Chamber week, which means we've got a lot of coverage coming your way, including the official preview and prediction show, which usually is done the day before, so it'll be dropped by Friday. I don't have an exact time. Probably sometime midday Eastern Standard Time on Friday will be your Elimination Chamber preview and prediction show. Tomorrow's the mailbag, and as always, with the high volume over the last several weeks and seemingly into the future as the podcast grows, I'll get to as many as I can in the first show. Obviously, those of you on Patreon who are sending in emails to me, make sure in the subject of the email, if you're not sending it directly on Patreon, in the subject of the email, you are putting that you're a patron so that I prioritize your emails, okay? Otherwise, I don't cross-check the emails. I just don't have the time for it. And yes, we're using the honor system here, right? Because if you're not a patron, you could easily fool me, and I'll just read your email, and no one will know the difference. But honor system is really the system we're working on. But you guys are growing, or you're making this podcast grow, and I appreciate it. So, okay, let's get to it, as Monday Night Raw came to us and has left, and is the final Monday Night Raw for the Elimination Chamber, the go-home show for the Elimination Chamber. And the big story coming out of Elimination Chamber, the go-home show for Raw, is, of course, Jimmy Uso, who interfered in Jay's match with Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. And it looks like we are now officially getting Jimmy versus Jay at WrestleMania. Now, personally, as of this moment, the feud doesn't really interest me at the moment. And yes, my opinions, just like everyone else's in the world, are subject to change. But my opinion as it stands, as of this moment, it doesn't interest me. And it's mainly because I feel like we have seen the Bloodline Civil War play itself out to exhaustion. Yes, The Rock is a new entity, and he will either turn on Roman or won't turn on Roman or whatever, right? That's a new element. He's a mega star. That's different. Yes, he's part of the bloodline, and yes, it's technically civil war when he eventually turns on Roman or Roman turns on him at or shortly after WrestleMania. Yes, of course. But that's a different dynamic. It's the damn Rock, you know? I'm talking about the existing OGs of the bloodline. I feel like I don't need to see any more combinations of these men fighting. Now, this is the one avenue maybe they didn't explore that they feel they need to, and how cool would it be, twin versus twin at WrestleMania. And Jimmy has screwed Jay multiple times for multiple championships now. Most notably, obviously last night, but the even bigger championship he cost Jay was at SummerSlam against Roman Reigns for the Undisputed Championship. By the way, Rock, it's not called Universal. You can at least just shorten it to Undisputed. That's the one of the blunders The Rock had on Friday night. Was that the fact he keeps calling it the Universal Championship. Technically, he's not wrong, but that doesn't give the whole picture. You know, like it's technically right. Like it's part of what the championship that Roman is that's holding. That the championship Roman is holding is partly the Universal. But can he call it just the Undisputed? You know, when he said it multiple times now. So come on, Rock, get with it. I'm being a bit facetious. I'm not really hammering The Rock, but it is kind of annoying when I'm like, dude, no. You got to know the name of the belt. Just shorten it. Undisputed. That's it. However, back to Jimmy and Jay. Yes, right now I'm still not interested in this. I felt like we might finally moved on. Jay had moved on. Jimmy was still wallowing in really irrelevancy. I know he's supposed to be on the island of relevancy, but he's been anything but since inexplicably rejoining Roman, which that avenue was never explored. No one decided to tell us why Roman cared to bring him back or accepted him back or Jimmy wanted it. None of that was really brought back. We just kind of accepted it and we're told just to accept it. And ever since that point, Jimmy has been an afterthought in a big way. He's been getting RKO'd left and right by Randy Orton every chance that he's gotten, and he hasn't had anything notable happen. So for Jimmy, this is the biggest thing to happen. For Jay, it feels like a step backwards, does it not? I mean, Jay nearly won the world championship against Seth Rollins a few months ago. Well, not a few months ago, back in, was it November? Right? I think when they came to Albany. But a few months ago, he nearly won the world title, and he's on fire with the Yeet thing. And then I feel like he's getting dragged back down into the mud of Jimmy and Jay, right? And again, as much as I'm feeling disinterested, things could change. My opinions are always open to change, but as of this moment, man, I don't feel it. Because it feels regressive for Jay's character that has really come so far from the bloodline stuff. I feel like we moved past that. I feel like we've finally got away from it. And I know there are people that are thinking, oh, wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be neat? Gosh golly, wouldn't that be neat? Twin versus twin. Never been done before. Right? I understand. That's a loose end they need to tie up. I mean, there are some people out there, but I don't think there was this large groundswell of support for fans saying, oh my God, WWE, please do it. I honestly think most people were expecting and hoping Jay would become Intercontinental Champion at WrestleMania. But they're going this road, and as a good little fan, I am willing to let the story play out to see if it grabs me. And maybe it does. Jimmy, and especially Jay, are very talented. Jay is extremely good at conveying emotions and getting you emotionally invested. He is really good in the ring. Obviously, we know what he can do. And he is the superior twin when it comes to status right now. He is the much bigger star over Jimmy. So there's jealousy they could play off there. Now they could go into their childhood. They could do a lot of stuff. And of course, the things that happen in the bloodline and all these things about becoming head of the table and family. Fine. We're going to go back into that territory for the next couple months. And am I excited to hear all of this all over again? No. Okay, I'm just not. It was a really good match between Gunther and Jay. And really physical. My God, was it physical. I could have done without the, 49 spears I think he hit on Gunther. I could have done without that. But, point taken, it was a physical match. One that, when it was put in the main event, you said to yourself, hey, it's in the main event of a go-home show. It's possible that Gunther drops it here. And he didn't, because they're furthering Jimmy and Jay. And now where do they go with Gunther? Who is the next guy in line that's a believable guy to take down Gunther? This, to me, leads to a almost certain fatal four-way for that championship at WrestleMania, you would think. Now, there are other guys on the roster that are certainly plausible to win. Sure, The Miz is one, but I think we've been there, done that. Chad Gable was one, and he's an amazing in-ring wrestler, but we've been there, done that. And would I care? Would I be angry if either of those men won? No. At this point, I'm ready for Gunther to move on. He's made his point. There's not really much more he could add to his legacy as IC champion. I think we're all ready for that next movement upward. But the question is the World Championship picture ready? You can't just have him move up if the story with Seth and his belt isn't complete with whoever he's working with. So anyway, I understand where they're going, but here's one other thing. WWE security is pretty damn selective of when they decide to enforce the draft rules, the brand rules, because when the opening match happened and we had shades of WrestleMania 39 in the main event with Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes happen with the Samoan spike to Cody, the security was nowhere to be found. They were lazily going up the ramp. No security was chasing them. And then lo and behold, not only does security finally notice that they're there, but they haphazardly try to get them out of the arena. And obviously that didn't pan out well because they hung around the arena for the next 3 hours. So don't pretend that security cares that they're there when they're being extremely selective about when they decide to enforce security to get them out of the building. I mean, what kind of ship is Adam Pearce running here? No, I understand I complain about this a lot, but it's such a glaring just insult to my intelligence and yours. I mean, I'm not saying everyone should be offended, but you should be kind of insulted that WWE thinks that you're not going to care because it's just, the stars are here. Who cares? But that's kind of the magic of a brand split. That's kind of the fun of a brand split, man, is you get to have two worlds that coexist in which you can imagine fantasy matchups happening, and you start to, to identify certain guys with certain brands. And if they ever changed brands, it would be a huge deal. Or if someone showed up on another brand, an opposing brand, it would be a big deal. It's never even treated like a big deal anymore. It's hardly even recognized that they're from an opposing brand, much less it making it feel like a big deal. So that's why I'm annoyed by it, is because I understand the benefits, the inherent benefits of having a brand split that you actually enforce the rules for, because it can provide a lot of benefits from a fantasy matchup standpoint and making it feel like an actual more simulated sport than it already does. And it works. Yes, there are drawbacks. Yes, star power can suffer because half your brand is on the other, or half your roster is on the other brand. I understand that, but you have to take the good with the bad. And those are the sacrifices you have to make. But what they don't want to make are the sacrifices. They want to have a brand split, but don't want to have any of the downsides of it. But you can't have both. They want us to think you can, and they hope you don't care. So I'll leave it there because I could continue on, but I'll just go in a circle. So it annoys the hell out of me that Raw and SmackDown are guilty of this. The GMs don't say anything. There's no security to even pretend that they're not supposed to be there. The announcers almost never are incensed that there's opposing talent on the roster or on the show that they shouldn't be on. They'll even say, I'm visiting from SmackDown. I'm like, what do you mean visiting? Or they'll just say, and from SmackDown, so-and-so's here, as if it's just kind of matter of fact, as if it's, not even a problem that they're here. I would imagine they're instructed to not make it an issue, that just accept it with no explanation and very little enforcement of the rules. But they make a big deal, guys, about the draft every year or every other half year or however they randomly decide to do it at times. They make a big deal about this is where you're going. This is your brand. Yet there's no consequences and seemingly no barriers for when a talent can visit the opposing brand. We've seen no punishments, nothing, no fines, It's just, I have a problem because it's just insulting, and it's annoying as hell. But I understand why they do it. It's not that I don't see why they do it, and there are benefits to what they're doing. I just think that the negatives outweigh the benefits on their strategy. Let's move on, as I've gotten that rant out of my system with their lack of a brand split, or only enforcing it when it's, I guess, it coexists with the storyline they're trying to tell. However, so I've said my piece about Jimmy and Jay. I still believe that it's boring as of this moment. Again, opinion subject to change because I'm willing to let the story play itself out. So we'll see. They got a lot of time to build to WrestleMania. A lot of fun promos. Jay will probably come to SmackDown and make his presence felt as well. But let's continue with the other elements of Monday Night Raw here. And obviously beyond the main event that saw Gunther and Jay Uso and for the Intercontinental Championship, we opened the show with Cody and Drew one-on-one. Nothing on the line other than pride. That's a nice thing to see. And this match felt big. Even though it was the opening match, it just felt big. And it's nice also to have a big match open Raw every once in a while instead of just your typical 15-minute promo segment with whoever, or kind of a throwaway mid-card match just to get the crowd going. It's nice once in a while to switch it up, and I appreciated this here. Obviously, with the IC belt, they had a main event already set, so they knew they could push this to the front, and I have no issue with it. The match was really well done. Everything from the pedigree, so a nice claymore, physical, apron bumps, 20-minute match here, and this ended, as we saw, as I mentioned earlier, because of a solo Sikoa spike, a la the finish to WrestleMania 39. And McIntyre, after that, hit Cody with a claymore and got the victory. So a 20-minute match. And you would have thought that Cody would have won this match, especially given he's about to face Roman Reigns in the main event. But Cody's protected because of the finish here. Obviously, he didn't lose clean to Drew. However, even if he lost clean, while they never would do that, I don't think he would have lost anything because Drew has been on fire lately. I still enjoyed what they did here because what it did was give McIntyre the victory, which I think he needs more than even Cody. And Cody doesn't lose often at all, by the way, so that made the victory even bigger for Drew. It gave you a throwback to the finish of last year's main event and reminding fans of what could be awaiting Cody in the main event once again. And then when Cody was in the back in the trainer's room, Seth came up, didn't say a word to Cody, and just patted him on the knee and left. Now, we've heard for weeks from Seth, though, and this was what was weird, and I don't know if it's a complaint, I just don't understand it. For weeks, Seth has been trying to be buddy-buddy with Cody, acknowledging their differences, but saying we have a common enemy. And he talked about, especially last week, really laying it on heavy, that I want to be your protector. I want to be your shield, he said. A pun there, clearly. And yet, where he's nowhere to be found. So wait, you want to be his shield? And when there's an opportunity that's presented the very first time, you don't take advantage of that. Like you don't prove that that's truly what you're trying to do. It was just weird. Like, where was Seth? I know he couldn't have been there maybe for the moment of the spike, but he could have fought them off. So it was kind of weird. Seth said all these things, yet didn't do anything. He just kind of went to the trainer's room and said, "Told you," essentially. I know they didn't speak, but with the look and body language, that was what was implied. So kind of weird that there was no action by Seth, but I still don't have an issue with these two teaming up against the Bloodline. I mean, I think that tag match, whenever it happens, is going to be huge. At the same time, Seth is still not focusing on his own world title. So, I mean, the world title, while he is talking about how important it is, he continues to undermine his own championship because he's not even focusing on his own belt. He's more worried about what Roman Reigns is doing and the Bloodline. So I'm worried about the world title continuing to lose value while we're told one thing by Seth about how much it's a workhorse title and this and that, then we get no even promo. I know he's not clear to wrestle yet with his knee, which is maybe also why he didn't interfere, but he could have at least come out and then they scamper, right? Maybe he comes out with a chair. Maybe he comes out with a chair and the bloodline scatter. So at least there's the visual of it. While Seth doesn't have to take any bumps if he's not cleared, he could have come out with a chair or a metal pipe, some kind of equalizer, as they call it. So there's ways to do it even if he's not medically cleared. So, and what I understand, he's getting closer. So, again, not necessarily complaints, just more concerns. And the concern for the World Heavyweight Championship at this time. Now, once the winner of the World Heavyweight Championship Elimination Chamber number one contender is identified, we'll be off to the races to WrestleMania. I mean, if I felt this way and we were a week or two from WrestleMania, I'd be much more concerned. But we got one PLE to go. And then it should be Seth focusing, hopefully, on his own World Championship title defense. My concern, there's another concern, is if there is the rumor of the tag team match happening at WrestleMania comes true, then Seth's attention is divided once again, and the world title picture doesn't seem nearly as important. You know, if at WrestleMania, if it's Seth and Cody versus Rock and Roman for night one, and then Cody and Roman for night two for the belt. If that's true, which I still have an issue with, if it's true, that means Seth's attention, again, is not going to be focused solely on his World Heavyweight title defense. It's going to be focused on defeating The Rock and how are they going to strategize, what this victory will mean, all these things. So I want Seth. I appreciate what he's doing. And yes, eventually something will happen where he'll team up with Cody. But he's the damn world champion. So it'd be nice to get a little bit of insight and hear from the champion about, the contenders that are in the Elimination Chamber who he could be facing at WrestleMania. I mean, I don't know, the biggest PLE of the entire year. So it's a concern, not necessarily like me, complaining about it. All right. So let's move on. After this, let's see. I know there's a Andrade vignette that aired. He said he never had a choice. He spoke about his father, his uncles, his cousins, and even his wife being pro wrestlers. He said it's his destiny. He said people had high expectations, and he didn't let that stop him. He said he controls his destiny, and it's in WWE. And he said Andrade El Idolo, the Andrade El Idolo, Andrade the Idol era has just begun. All right. Then we get the Women's Battle Royal, the last chance Battle Royal for the final spot in the Women's Elimination Chamber match. And this consisted of Indy Hartwell, Candice LeRae, Ivy Nile, Tegan Knox, Alba Fire, Michin, Katana Chance, Xia Li, Valhalla, B-Fab, yeah, she's still a thing, Elektra Lopez, and Isla Dawn. So the match was, it was fine. The crowd, it took a while to get into it, and they did, especially at certain points. And, I will say that a returning Raquel Rodriguez got a better reaction than I thought she would. She's so inherently unlikable. That's a compliment to her as an eventual heel, by the way, not a slight on her just character generally. She's just miscast. It happens. She's been miscast since she came up. I don't like her as a babyface. Never have, but there's some matchups with heels that she hasn't had yet, and maybe a face-off eventually with Jade Cargill, wherever the hell she lands, or whenever she decides to stop doing full-time Instagram selfies and actually start, getting in the ring. And I'm being half serious in that I know, of course, she's probably busting her ass at the training center. It's not that she's just sitting there. I get it. But from the outside looking in, given the fans don't have that perspective in front of their face, it is tempting to criticize Jade for her constant, just incessant need to show us how good her body looks. And I'm ready to move on. Like I'm ready to take the next step and be like, okay, yeah, I think we get it. I think that we understand that you're looking for admiration for your physique, which admittedly, yeah, it's very impressive. But like, cool, bro, but can you wrestle? You know? And people are, she can wrestle. Did you see her in AEW? Put her in WWE. Different opponents, different style, different expectations, different platform. It's a different world, in other words. So sure, I'm sure she can at a basic level. I don't know her level right now. And the thing is, they have such high expectations for her, and the fans at this point do too, that it's maybe at an unfair level now. However, just get in the damn ring and wrestle. But she's not, and they clearly don't feel she's ready yet. And maybe she won't even have a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. That remains to be seen. She's got about, a month and a half until she has to get to WrestleMania and maybe have a one-on-one. But my point is, yeah, I'm tired of seeing her looking for admiration about her physique. And I'm ready for her to just get in there and do what we want you to do. And that's wrestle on a wrestling show. Okay? This is not a beauty pageant, which apparently she thinks at times it is. So this isn't a photo shoot that the fans judge on. You have a nice physique. Cool. We get it. It is very impressive. That doesn't get you to the Hall of Fame. That gets you attention. Sometimes the attention you don't want, but attention nonetheless. But I'm ready for Jade to get in the effing ring. I don't know about you. And yes, we saw her at the Rumble, and what we did see was encouraging. But it was a brief blip on the radar, and I'm ready for her to just come in full time. But not my call, obviously. All right. But this match here, the Battle Royal, felt very much like a WrestleMania match. Like, you know how they used to have this every year? Like, all the women that didn't have anything going on, they'd throw in this Battle Royal, and then the winner would get a meaningless... Sometimes they would win a number one contendership spot. Other times it was just for fun, almost exhibition style, that they would throw all the women in there, and they'd win nothing. But in this case, the winner, who ended up being Raquel Rodriguez, did win a spot in the Elimination Chamber. And I was a bit sad that what's her name, Chelsea Green, didn't end up throwing out Raquel. It was a throwback to, I think, the Royal Rumble in 2015, when Rusev wasn't ever eliminated and Roman Reigns thought he won the Rumble. And then Rusev tried to attack Roman from behind, and Roman ended up throwing him out, and the crowd was booing even louder. I actually think the crowd would have popped if Chelsea Green had ended up throwing out Raquel Rodriguez, but I guess it wasn't meant to be. I think it would have been brilliant, but I'm still a Chelsea Green fan. Still love what her character brings to the table. So we got a fun Raquel Rodriguez win, introducing her back. So then we got the interview between Cole and Rhea and Nia. And Rhea didn't say a whole lot. Nia said even less. It was a short interview, but these two women are never known for their lengthy, in-depth A+ promos. I mean, they're just, that's not who they are, and that's fine. It was still effective. I still enjoyed it. Nia Jax was mocking Ripley's story by saying it was cute. Jax said she's twice Ripley's size and has triple her talent. Jax says she would squash Ripley again and make her go home and cry to her own mother. Now, this may be insensitive, but if Rhea wanted to, I don't know if this would have generated heat or laughter, but when Ripley said, or rather Jax said that she is triple her talent, I mean, she could have easily said, I don't know if you're triple my talent, but you're certainly triple my carb intake. You know, like, I know that sounds shallow and, it's a low blow, making fun of fat. No, there's a lot of fat men on the roster. Not a lot, but there's some that are overweight, right? It's just a fact. Nia Jax is overweight. So is Otis, right? Otis, Ivar, overweight. Kevin Owens, you could even say, is overweight in some respects for being a pro wrestler anyway. So I don't know why the rules can't apply both ways. It's just, I know people don't like it. But it's something they would never go there because of today's current culture, and I understand. But I was sitting there going, "Oh man, that's like right there. It's right there." And I know there'd be massive backlash of body shaming and all this nonsense today, but it's right there, man. I miss the days of old. Anyway, I still thought Nia Jax did a nice job. Her demeanor was very solid. Her demeanor was confidence. Ripley said that Jax will tremble when she hears everyone chanting for mommy. And Ripley said Jax's nightmares will become a reality when she realizes she's just not good enough. And then Ripley left. And I thought it was effective. It was a way to have them not beat each other up, as they've been doing the last several weeks, and have a little bit of a sit down. That, as brief as it was, I think was effective. It was good. It helped build the match as well as you could have hoped to build this program. All right. Then we get a Jackie Redmond interview with R-Truth. Truth is in a poncho outside, and Redmond was asking Truth about the first time he met Judgment Day, and the footage aired while Truth said it was special, just like the first time John Cena tried on a pair of jean shorts, which was funny. Truth also spoke about how Damian Priest broke his heart. Truth said he hasn't cried this much since the finale of This Is Us, and made a reference to the Tony Soprano. Redmond asked Truth if he would ever be able to let anyone in again, and Truth said he had a few new friends in Shawn Michaels and Triple H, and because he thinks he was saved by DX, which is, it's great. Truth made a heart with his hands and walked away. This was fine. I still don't think it was as good as the original one they did with R-Truth that made him what he is right now and the success he's having with the Tom and Nick shirt and the hospital, how they met his babies and all this stuff. That was gold. This was like a silver or bronze. It was a solid runner up. And they're trying to capture what they can with Truth, which I appreciate. So, all right, let's see. I know there was some UFC. Michael Chandler was introduced by Samantha Irvin. I'm not really too much interested in that, but we got the Judgment Day taking on The Miz, R-Truth, and Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. So really awesome Truth and DIY. And the match disappointingly ended with Truth losing. And so the Judgment Day wins. It was a fun match with R-Truth showing some fire. And the fans, I'm telling you, would embrace an R-Truth title run. I mean, what if he's the one to win the Intercontinental title? Not off the table. But again, this match was really good. I thought that all of the men had their certain spots. I think that Finn Balor, by the way, has kind of gotten lost in things. While Finn Balor's in this very successful group, does it not feel like he's kind of been a shadow? Like he's there, but like it doesn't feel like Finn Balor's there. It's weird. And I don't know. I don't know if that's a complaint. It's just how I feel about him. Finn Balor, from where he was as a solo act at his peak, it feels like he's just kind of blended in. He's camouflaged into this group. It's almost like if he left, no one would notice. But so I don't know if that means he should leave the group or just stay in it. I'm not sure. But either way, he still kind of just has lost his identity in a way. I know he's had some mic time talking with Truth, but outside of that, it's not like he has his own individual storylines going on. I know he's been working in the tag team scene, but it's like he's lost his voice in a way. I don't know. It's just a different version, maybe, is all that this is. It's a different version of Finn that doesn't get a lot of solo time. All right. So, let's see. We get Becky Lynch was shown backstage walking, and we then get a ad for NXT the following on Tuesday Tuesday, yeah, and it touted Lyra Valkyrie versus Shotzi for the NXT Women's Championship, and the Wolf Dogs celebrating after the NXT Tag Title win. So for those of you that are the NXT fans out there, there's a nice little preview for you. But for the other, probably 80% of us that don't watch NXT, and I wish we all did. It's not a disrespect to the NXT fans. It's just the fact I think a lot of us either don't have the time or just are only interested in the main product. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is cool to watch someone come up from NXT and make it to the main roster, and then you take that journey with them and see if they can make it on the big time. So, all right. So we get Becky Lynch coming out. And she's got a new hat. And I would just say to that, cool, bruh. Like, and I don't know, I swear, it feels like sometimes the wrestlers listen to this show. And I still don't think that they do. There's a million choices out there. They're pulled in 40 directions every second. But, I mean, all the criticisms of Becky Lynch, some of them have come to the forefront where they're almost acknowledging. Drew McIntyre has done that over the last several weeks. Especially before Punk got injured. He was cutting those promos, and then he cut the promo on Cody and talking about all the criticisms that we've run down in detail on this show on camera to Cody, which was fun. But Becky Lynch talking about how she said that she's done a lot in her career, but so there's not a lot of new things left for her to do. That's almost verbatim exactly what I said last night. That it feels like, she's kind of done it all, and she feels a little boring. And she does. I mean, you have to... She's not in a bad spot, but she does feel stale. I mean, you're stale when you have to try to point to your hat to get a reaction from the crowd, as if that's somehow going to catch on, that she's wearing a backwards leather hat or whatever it was. That's what we're supposed to cheer for? I know she was doing it as kind of just tongue-in-cheek, a joke. I understand. But it's almost, I don't know. I think she's acknowledging the criticisms from fans, I think, that her character doesn't have a whole lot new to it. Her journey doesn't have a whole lot new to it. So she's trying to just maybe mock us by talking about things that are superficially changing on her, which is just her outfits. I don't know, but I wasn't laughing or cheering for the hat comment somewhere, and that's cool. But she is talking only about Rhea Ripley, right? Like, and assuming Rhea Ripley is champion going into WrestleMania, which I think is a very safe bet. Not only because Rhea Ripley is essentially the woman of the year for the women in WWE, but also they're just getting going now with Mommy's momentum. Like, now you can start it really feeling to take shape, and especially wait till after Perth and the reaction she gets. And they did the press conference with Becky coming out to interrupt Rhea Ripley. So this is a foregone conclusion. It would be insane for them to pivot at this point. But I still believe, hear that, all you patrons out there that support Becky? I believe it, not because I really want it to happen, but I can see it happening. Becky is not going to get the majority of support at WrestleMania. Now, I know I had a co-host on here, I think it was Amanda, who said on the Weekend Review that she believes it's going to be 100-0 in support of Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. I would disagree with that. I think I even said that on the show, that I think it's a little more tampered. Maybe like a 60-40, 70-30, 80-20 split, something along those lines. But Becky's too popular, and she does have a likable character, even if it's boring at this point. So I think that they're acknowledging the fact, WWE is, that there is going to be a lot of support for Rhea Ripley. They're not shying away from it, and nor should they. I think that Becky Lynch cast it to hit this head on. If they think that Becky Lynch is going to get an overwhelming response against Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, they've got another thing coming. It won't be as, completely lopsided like it would be if Becky Lynch was facing Rhea Ripley in Perth on Saturday. I mean, forget it. But I still believe it's 60-40, 70-30 when it comes to support for Rhea at WrestleMania. I continue to say that. Again, you just listen to the reactions. It's positive for Becky. I'm not pretending it's booing. There's no booing. It's just when fans are forced to choose, and we haven't had that moment yet, when fans are forced to choose on a massive stage in front of 70,000 people who are the, quote, hardcore audience for WWE, who are, typically cheer for more heels than baby faces, just out of, I think sometimes it's out of spite, sometimes it's out of just entertaining themselves, or sometimes it's out of just telling WWE this is what we want. It is a more hardcore audience that, when you look at the crowd demographic and you feel the momentum coming from Mommy, and that Becky's character has really flatlined, it all points to Becky Lynch getting a subdued reaction. Again, not booed out of the building, but subdued compared to Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. I know I'm making a big deal out of this, but it is kind of a big deal. It is. You have your top woman heel getting cheered at WrestleMania against one of the biggest baby faces of all time. That's a big deal. All right. So Liv Morgan comes out and said she was sorry to interrupt, and Morgan said she was a big fan of Lynch, and you get the assembly line. We have seen this formula way too much. This is a Vince McMahon-y thing to do, and maybe they just went with that formula because they wanted to give all the women who are in the chamber match a voice, and I appreciate that. But it's when you do this and you know one's coming right out after the other, are they literally lined up backstage? How does this work? If this is supposed to be a show that anything can happen, it's unpredictable, and these women all truly hate each other, they literally must be lined up one after the other backstage. I mean, you can picture it. That's the only way that this happens. With how quickly they're coming out rapid fire, giving each other like 15 seconds to talk before interrupting the next. It just takes me out of the moment when they do things. And they've been guilty of this for years with the men and the women. Anytime there's a multi-person match, particularly one that's the chamber, like a fatal 5-way, things like that, or even a fatal 4-way, you have inevitably one after the other after the other. Takes me out of the moment a little. I understand why they do it. Totally get it. And you'd say, well, what would you do? Well, here's an idea. Maybe just sit them all down in the ring and have an interview. Right? Give them each a chance to talk. Why go through the motions of pretending that they're all randomly coming out at this time? It's just coincidence. Not my thing. That's all. However, it was nice to hear from Naomi. That was nice. I appreciated that in hearing from her, and I would have liked to hear more about what she had to say. All she really said was she didn't come back just to come back. She said that she has goals inside and outside the ring, and this go around is big for her. She said she was there to climb her way to the top. So short, sweet, to the point. You're here to win a women's championship, But I would have loved to have heard a little more from her. Naomi is an interesting character because we haven't heard much from her since she made a return at the Rumble. Then we get Tiffany Stratton, who came out and being just obnoxious. Again, I think it was Anthony DeMarco who mentioned she's very much a Chelsea Green character. There's not a whole lot of distinction between the two, other than maybe hair color. That's pretty much it. But I enjoy Tiffy time. I enjoy because she does play a very convincing, obnoxious woman, and that's a compliment to her. I think Tiffany Stratton has a very bright future because she feels like she belongs right away. So Bianca Belair comes out, and she's, of course, makes the very convincing and compelling argument that she's going to win because you can't spell WrestleMania without EST. So I was unaware of this, that what letters are in WrestleMania dictate if Bianca Belair is going to win or lose. So I guess that I'd have to look at the rest of the pay-per-views, but I think SummerSlam she would be a perpetual loser, right? And you look at some other pay-per-views. Anytime that her letters EST in sequential order don't appear, she's probably going to lose, right? I'm being a jerk, but it's just I understand that's her gimmick. I know. I'm not trying to be hammering the women here, and I'm not trying to be. I'm really not. But sometimes you look at stuff, and maybe the magic in certain elements of wrestling is gone as you get older. But it's like you hear some of these justifications as to why they think they're going to win, and it's because there's certain letters in the name of a pay-per-view. Come on. Anyway, I know it's her catchphrase. I get it. And she's still an amazing athlete. But I don't know. All right, moving on. All right, so we got Gunther delivering a backstage promo, which was nice to hear, and told Jay he's going to have to keep dreaming if he thinks he's going to win the Intercontinental Championship match. But we got Chad Gable versus Ivar up next. That was only 6.5 minutes, and Chad Gable beat Ivar, and he got the tap out victory. So that's a pretty big deal, because Ivar has been built up over the last couple of months as a formidable force, and Chad Gable, obviously undersized, going against Ivar, is the underdog. Maybe not from the underground, but he's an underdog, and he put up a good fight in a pretty quick match, but it put Chad Gable towards the front of the conversation of guys who are in line to face Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, is this victory, was it labeled as a number one contendership for the IC belt? No, it was not. But there's justification there for Gable if he wants to bring it forward to Adam Pearce. So, okay. My voice, as you can hear, is cracking a little bit, but we'll finish this off. We got Cole hyping the Intercontinental Championship match. We got Drew McIntyre backstage, and he said that Cody has been on the run of a lifetime the last 2 years, and said the only one person who pinned Cody before, there was only one person who pinned Cody before tonight, and he dubbed himself the savior of WrestleMania. And he was asked if the victory was tainted by the Bloodline's interference. He said no. He said the people call him a hypocrite. He says he thinks big picture. He's not selfish. He's doing this for the world title, Raw, and the fans. And McIntyre said he would win the Elimination Chamber and go on to WrestleMania because he's the true workhorse of the company. I mean, again, if I was to summarize Drew McIntyre's heel character, it is, I'm the hero in my own story. That's it. And it's brilliant. And it works so well. And at some level, it does anger you, because while Cole was trying to frame this as McIntyre being a hypocrite, he never asked for the Bloodline to be there. And isn't his job to win a match? So what's he supposed to do? Tell me, Cole, what is McIntyre supposed to do when you didn't ask for the attack to happen on your opponent and you have an opportunity to win? Because winning, as we said, is what you're supposed to do and what you're striving for. You're striving for victory. So wouldn't you be foolish to not take advantage of the situation that you fell into? Or are you supposed to just, out of some kind of moral epiphany, wait until Cody is up, the referee checks on him, and he's back to 100%? Is that what you're supposed to do? Is that what you're asking guys to do? How is he a hypocrite? I mean, I'm kind of being half serious here, but really. So on some level, it does make you a little bit angry, because, on some level, Drew McIntyre is kind of right. But you also know that he's being smug about it, and that he feels he can do no wrong. He's the hero in his story, all that. So, I mean, it still adds up to a great heel run, but also there's a sliver of truth in there that does pierce you a little bit if you're looking for it. All right. Excuse me, guys. Gunther versus Jey Uso, as we mentioned, did happen. And we already talked about it. 18-minute match, long match. And we got a good main event here with Jimmy, of course, interfering and costing Jey the match. And, I guess all of you that are looking for a Jimmy Jey match are going to get it. I'm not one of them, but maybe I will be. Maybe I'll join you. Maybe I'll start joining you and hold up the banner of Jimmy versus Jey. I mean, it may happen. I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility. It's just, as of this moment, it's kind of a boring program for me, because I had long moved on from any Bloodline Civil War stuff that just consumed our televisions for a little too long. It was a brilliant storyline, but I think it overstayed its welcome a little bit. And now we're going back to something that I think Jey has done a great job of moving on from and building his career off of, and feeling like he has his own identity and that he is truly main event Jey Uso. And now we have to dig up the past and dig up the bloodline and dig up the problems he had with his brother and talk about Roman, and maybe Jey gets attacked by Roman and Solo, and like all these things, right? So that's the thing. Jay's in a great spot, and I hope that this doesn't drag him down. I mean, for Jimmy, this is great. I mean, for Jimmy, this is going from being the wallpaper in the background, which no one pays attention to, to the forefront. I mean, for Jimmy, this is all gain and no risk. For Jay, there's really no gain and all risk. And it's crazy the stark difference between the two. But if it all works out, they have a great match, and they just go, after this, they eventually get to a reunion for the Bloodline, which, by the way, I still believe when the Bloodline fully reunites, they will do so as babyfaces, but I don't think that's happening until after Rock Roman have their match, presumably after WrestleMania 41. So I think that's probably a year or so away. However, I just wanted to point that out there, that eventually these men will reunite, all four as baby faces, and the crowd is going to lose their collective minds. But stay tuned. That was a trailer for probably April or May of 2025. Maybe even a little bit longer. So, all right. I'm on the end of my rope here with my throat. I can feel it's tickling. I've taken a lot of breaks that are invisible to you, but I will head on over to bed, and I will lay my head down very peacefully. And I hope you guys do the same, or if you're waking up and listening to me, I know a lot of you listen to me at work, you're enjoying your day. I'll be back tomorrow with the mailbag, and then back on Friday with your official preview and prediction show for Elimination Chamber. And depending on Saturday, I know for Saturday, it's a weird start time. I'm on the East Coast, so it's 5 a.m. the thing starts. And it's a, 3.5 hour show minimum. I'll try to have something up by Saturday. I can't guarantee it. I'm going to be having a drink or two Saturday night, if you catch my drift. So I may not be in a good state of mind Sunday, but I will do the best I can to maybe put something up quickly on Saturday. Before I head out to my ventures and do my thing Saturday evening. So it's a little uncertain, but I will do my best. Guys. Believe it or not, I have a life outside of this show. It's really incomprehensible. I know it's a concept very difficult to grasp, but let it sink in. All right. Well, that'll do it for me. Before I embarrass myself any further, I'm going to head out. Thank you guys for listening, and consider going ad-free on Patreon or Apple Podcasts. Both offer 7-day free trials if you want to check us out and get a shout out on this show. You can even come on the show if you go up in tier. You get exclusive shows if you're the NXT Plus and above, which is our After Dark show. And I will talk to you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.